Welcome, guys. How you doing? This is Individual Perspective Podcast, and I am your host, Daris D. McKinney, and we are back. We're back, trying to get back, trying to get back online. Too much buffering, too much juddering, too much powers that be trying to mess with my internet stream. How you guys doing? Yeah, we're back. I told myself this morning I wanted to cover the um Biden speech because he's a mess. You know, don't even understand why this man. It's like it's crazy. Doesn't even make sense that he get to like he has no. I just think it's just the 100 years that he's like literally 50, 60 years that he's been in the business of government, getting a check from government for 60 years. May we all be so lucky to draw a pension and get our livelihood taken care of from taking money from people, from the American citizens, which that's a whole nother situation. Look, episode 2. Yeah. Gotta stay current. Gotta stay proactive when you're doing internet. When you're doing the streaming, when you're doing podcasting, because the truth of the matter is that we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of networks, news outlets, media pundits, podcasters, social influencers that we're gonna have to be able to counteract their narrative because the truth has not been sold. The perception of the truth has been sold. So someone's perception of what the truth is been sold. So if you can be passionate and boisterous about what you think is the truth, that holds a high value in society, not what the actual truth is. No matter how ugly it is, how bad it is, how sad it is, how aggressive it is, no matter what it is, it's the truth. And that should always reign supreme. So how do you see it? How do you know it when you hear it? And that's, I'm not going to go over the perception of individual perspective. You can watch the previous episodes and I go over rants that I tell you guys. But like I said, it's about vetting even the most personal person that you care about, that they don't get the respect of you believe in them until they're vetted. Why? Because anything that goes into your head, goes into your heart, goes into your soul, it needs to live up to scrutiny. So it needs to be the truth. It needs to be analyzed under pure objectivity. And how you're going to do that if you show bias? How are you going to do that if you show favoritism? How are you going to do that if you show personalization to it? You have to give up all that. And that's what the individual perspective, it gives you a keen reaction or reactiveness to the truth. Like you want the truth no matter what it is. No matter what the situation is, what you hear, what you read, what you see, no matter what it is, you want the truth of the matter. And you want to know that, and then you want to be able to decide how you want to communicate about it. And that's your decision to do that. That's your individual perspective to how you communicate it, how you advocate it, or however you process it to be digested once you understand what the truth is. Okay? Like I said, I didn't want to go into the mindset of individual perspective, but I wanted to give you a quick understanding because when we look at this Biden stuff, a lot of people look at him as like a meandering, old, elder, dementia man. But this man has spent 50, 60 years conning and manipulating and I'm telling you, this is the objective truth. I can show you decades of information that just will fall into it where you'll hear him say something passionate. You're like, man, maybe we wrong. Maybe he is trying to do good. Maybe maybe Trump is like that. Maybe Republicans are like that. Maybe they're like this. Maybe this is what's going on. But the truth of the matter is, even when he knows he's not telling the honest truth, he speaks with passion because he knows people are so dumb that they actually fall in love with presentation. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a certain way that he gained popularity or gained favored from the audience because he expressed himself in a certain way, he didn't just look at the reaction from the people from that. He adopted it into his presentation, to how he communicates, to what worked and what didn't work. And so by the time you do it for like 40 years, 50 years, it's the layman person, the average citizen, they look at it as like, wow, man, he's got to be telling the truth. Look at him. Look how he communicates. That's the truth. No. You believe your own stuff when you redundantly do something like that's why they say you do something for 10,000 hours, you become professional at it. You get what I'm saying? So just imagine 40, 50 years, 50, 60 years as a politician, senator, congressman, senator, president, vice president, stuff like that. It's wild, you know? So the psychological warfare that the American people have allowed our intelligence agency, our politicians, our law enforcement, and our and even our elites to put on us because they don't like freedom. You get what I'm saying? You know, and the bad part about it is that if you paid attention to the last 10 to 15 years, it was a heavy attack on the Constitution. It was a heavy attack on individual rights. It was a heavy attack on narratives that are not approved by the powerful. You get what I'm saying? That's why Biden and Obama, they attacked Facebook. They attacked Twitter to make them try to take our First Amendment speech away from us. Like, you're not, First Amendment is not for what you agree, what you want to hear, what has the decorum in society. It's for anything, any communication. We have the right to do that, and we want to have a conversation about that freedom. There's no conversation about the freedom of speech. It's the freedom of speech. That means anything that comes out of my mouth, I'm allowed to do that. Even yell fire in a crowded room. I'm allowed to do that. That's my freedom. Okay? How you guys react to it, that's the consequences of it. But I'm free to do it. And that we put a lot of statutes and laws into play to chip at the freedom of speech. It's ridiculous. And I could go on this forever. But that's what. So when I was paying attention to little highlights of Biden's speech, because I couldn't watch it last night. I had other things that I found was more important for me to put my time into to improve my life and the goals that I'm trying to accomplish. But when I kind of heard and seen little highlights of it, I said, man, this is psychological warfare, because he sounds like he cares about the stuff, but I know he specifically did the opposite of what he said in this speech that other people were doing that were baddies. So it's like he did certain things. His administration did certain things that he's talking about are bad if other people do it. And it's like, dude, you greenlit all of this stuff, or at least the people that was working on your behalf, your wife, your campaign chief of staff, the people that was in the background administrating stuff for you on your behalf and your ideology. And then when you come out and you do speeches, it's pretty much to the stuff that was going on in the country. It's not like you had no idea what was going on in the country. You would communicate it with passion in your speeches. You get what I'm saying? So let me know that he had hands in a lot of that stuff. So that's a whole nother thing. But I told myself I'll come on here It's only 17 minutes of a speech because, you know, he can't give no long speech. So we'll go over it and then we'll kind of, I'll give my reactions to some of the stuff he said because it's all propaganda. It really is. I'm telling you, the last 12 to 15 years was major psychological espionage, psychological warfare on American citizens. And I don't even think the American citizens understand it, but then maybe they do, because that's why they voted for Trump, because subconsciously they knew something ain't right here, and this ain't for my best interest. And they went against Biden and Kamala, you know. I mean, like, dude, you got your presidency destroyed because you allow your political party to take away your presidential run because they felt that you wasn't up to snuff. So it deleted what you did as a president and put you in the history books as a president that had to step down because of his illness. And then the person that you put into play, she's just as ridiculous, but not so. It's like her prosecutor ways stopped her from becoming president, because a prosecutor is a person that their whole life is to destroy people's life. You get what I'm saying? To accuse people of certain things and to destroy their life. And that's good if you're doing that to truly bad people. But if you're doing it because it's your job to destroy people's life, to bring upon cases, it's like senators and congressmen. They pass bills just because they're senators and congressmen, but really they should be working out how to pass less bills in Congress and the Senate, because that means by every bill that you pass, you're approaching the freedom of American citizen. You're taking from an American citizen's freedom and their constitutional rights. So the more bills that Congress pass, the more damage it does to American citizen and his individual rights. But that's ridiculous that you guys don't know that. So look, what I want you to do, I want you to follow, like, and subscribe. I say this all the time, but we got to level up this podcast. I need to fight in the algorithm. The system of social media, no matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, you guys are the voice. And they can hide me in the background as much as they can, but some things I do that the algorithm will fight for me. So if I do a little short videos and it piques my channel, gets my channel watched by thousands of people, I need you guys, when you watch those videos, to click like, follow, and subscribe. And you guys throw away money on a lot of social media influencers, on a lot of podcasters, on a lot of celebrities that they're not even grateful for the support that you give them, because they talk against your life and they talk against the people's life, and you guys give support to them. So I'm asking you for me to be a voice for the individual person, the individualism. I need you to go into the description area under each page. Just go into the description area, the profile of the video. You're going to see a link to Venmo. You're going to see a link to PayPal. Either or, just put $1, $2, $5 in there. I'm trying to make this podcast robust. I'm trying to give it the tools that it needs, the software that it needs, the ability that it needs for me to do interviews and panels and do documentaries and do more coverage and communicate to you guys relentlessly, because our job is we gotta stop the necessity, the need to go watch the mainstream media's platforms. CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. They dropped the ball in the last 12 to 15 years on freedom and the purpose of being reporters and journalists. Like, I love Fox News. I'm a big fan of Fox News. I like them. But even they have done unforgivable coverage of the Ukraine and the Russia war, and I could never forgive them for that. So it was biased, it was manipulating, and that goes down just as much as MSNBC in my book as bad reporting, bad news, and propaganda. Okay? So I got to do the work of getting this platform to be where you could come to and watch something at 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? And then 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock p.m. And that give you where you feel like you could pull yourself from the mainstream media if you're looking for news outlet, entertainment, or just media communication about the different things that's going on in society, news, pop culture, society, and everything like that. And I could do it, but I just need your help. I need you guys to go into the description, go into the membership, go into the Venmo, go into the PayPal, and give $1, $2, $5. Even if you can do it once a month, that's good. I don't care. Just give to us so we can have the power. I could build and get somebody in here to help me and all the other stuff, and we could just constantly just do the work where it will be a platform where you get constant information, because there's a lot of good social influencers out there. There's a lot of good podcasters that put hundreds of thousands of dollars into what they're doing, but they have their own biases, their own ego into how they're communicating to you guys. So the real context of the situation, they leave out, because they want you to pay for their Patreon. They want you to go into their membership. They want you to pay for another level, another layer. No, everything that you need to know about the truth will be on our podcast. I'm not trying to sell you some other plan. We can have a blunt conversation on the podcast. Okay? So my name is Daris D. McKinney. This is Individual Perspective Podcast, where your truth is the objective truth, because we give you the innate ability to vet your mama, your daddy, your siblings, your community, your culture, society, government, politicians, celebrities. We make sure that you do not let anything take hold in your head and your heart and your soul that's not the truth. When you communicate, and when we communicate in objectivity, the truth. Okay? So that's what we're doing. So we get now jumped on into the Biden situation now. Look, this is going to be the first time I'm listening to it as we talk, as we go through this too, guys. So I might stop it to bitch and moan about it, okay?
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight. After 8 months of nonstop. My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, by my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas, the elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team, and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be, working together as Americans. This will be my final address to you from the American people, from the Oval Office, from this desk as president. And I've been thinking a lot about who we are, and maybe more importantly, who we should be. Long ago in New York Harbor, an iron worker installed beam after beam, day after day. He was joined by steel workers, stonemasons, engineers. They built not just a single structure, but a beacon of freedom. The very idea of America was so big, we felt the entire world needed to see. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from France after our Civil War, Like the very idea of America, it was built not by one person, but by many people from every background and from around the world. Like America, the Statue of Liberty is not standing still. Her foot literally steps forward atop a broken chain of human bondage. She's on the march, and she literally moves. She was built to sway back and forth to withstand the fury of stormy weather, to stand the test of time because storms are always coming. She sways a few inches, but she never falls into the current below. An engineering marvel. The Statue of Liberty is also an enduring symbol of the soul of our nation. A soul shaped by forces that bring us together and by forces that pull us apart. And yet through good times and tough times, we've withstood it all. A nation of pioneers and explorers, of dreamers and doers, of ancestors native to this land, of ancestors who came by force. A nation of immigrants who came to build a better life. A nation holding the torch of the most powerful idea ever in the history of the world. That all of us are created equal. That all of us deserve to be treated with dignity, justice, and fairness. That democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible.
See, that's the funny part about politicians and politicians that are destructive to the Constitution, is because for them, they always say that the meaning of America is that piece of shit Statue of Liberty that France gave us. I like it. It's good. It's a good little monument, but compared to the Constitution, it's a piece of shit. Okay? I know it's pretty early. I shouldn't be cussing, so I'm going to stop that. I just want you to understand the passion that I'm saying that in. Okay? It's a good monument to let people know it's like it's an American treasure. It's there. They put a speech on it inside, in like the writing of it, like this. Bring me your masses, bring me your weak, your hunger, and we'll welcome. That came on way after, and a radical socialist person wrote it. It didn't come with the statue. It was never meant to be placed on Statue of Liberty. It kind of almost contradicted America policies. You got to remember, in 1700s, even like before the independence, before the Revolution War and the Independence Declaration of Independence, like America had to fight England. You know what I'm saying? It had to fight England because the whole purpose of making America was to make sure that we don't be beholden to no kings. That our freedoms, our individual freedoms, that that a citizen can have anger towards the president, can belittle the president, can say anything that they want against the president. Not the president, the king. I'm sorry, let me repeat that again. The whole purpose of it was that you guys got to understand that before we became America and had independence, it was a fight that was going on for about 50 years that we were fighting, and it was starting to have a major divide with England, because the whole point of people coming over here and building the land and managing and everything like that was to make sure that the king gave deference to people that lived over here, that came over here, made a land, made a country, made a economic system, made a way of living over here. And they started to get in a back and forth because the king started to try to put his will on some of the citizens or the colonialists that came over to America to build the new world. So they decided they were gonna team up and go to war. They were gonna like send a message back to the king. We're not following your rules, and we're not gonna let you dictate to us and take from us and pull us into private situations because you're the king. We wanted you to treat us with more deference. We're not out here trying to belittle your name, but we're building something here that we don't have to uphold the ego of the king or the monarch. So that got back to the king, and the king had his soldiers put their foot down a little bit more on American and the different politicians that was in America. So they all kind of went to Pennsylvania and they started to draft laws and a way of the people will vote, and the people will kind of have independence of their own freedom and give this country its own independence from England. So that's where the Revolution of War came from. Okay, so because the response for the king was, no, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna do what we tell you to do, and you're gonna live under England rule. And the politicians and the people over here that was developing the policies and the love from the citizens and everything like that, they decided, no, we're not going to be under the ruling of the king. So my point of it is saying it was never meant for England to just send random people over here that can go against the policies, the life, the understanding of what it is to be an American citizen. We wanted to know who's coming in the city. Coming into the country. We wanted to make sure that they was favorable for freedom of an individual. So that's why the Declaration of Independence was made. So first you got to read the Declaration of Independence. That gives you an understanding what's the concrete mindset of this country and the purpose of it, because everybody had to rule under that. Everybody had to show loyalty and independence to that. Okay? And then you need to go into the Bill of Rights. You get what I'm saying? I'm sorry, the Constitution, and then the Bill of Rights. Okay? So the reason why I say that is because by the time Statue of Liberty got here, a lot of people that wanted monarch rule, they tried to put a little bit of their policies into the country because they became president, and their mindset was a little bit loyal to the England or the way that England was, and they felt that we were a little bit too free. You get what I'm saying? We had too much freedom. But individualism and the freedom of their rights, that's why they had to go back and forth when they wrote up the Constitution. And then they wrote up the Bill of Rights. Okay, so I wanted to say that because he's talking about the Statue of Liberty and what's the purpose and the meaning of the Statue of Liberty. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what that is. You're a president of the United States. You're supposed to make sure that every single law, every single bill, every single agency, everything about this world holds up to the value of the Constitution. But they don't. They go to idealistic thought process of the Statue of Liberty. And I got triggered by that. So I wanted to say that because it's bad. It should never be like that. Statue of Liberty is good. It's a good representation. It's a good little landmarker. It's a good monument to America, but it has no value to the meaning of America. Absolutely none. Our Constitution is. So if you need a monument to represent America, and they say truly the America, is not some words that a foreigner writes in a poem that you guys place on a Statue of Liberty, and it's a foreigner and a foreign idealistic socialist ideology that's placed on a gift from a socialist country as a monument. That's not the main meaning of America. The Constitution is. And they try to muddy the water so you don't even analyze it like that. So that's why I said some piece of Statue of Liberty is not the meaning of America, because I don't want to give respect to the Statue of Liberty more than your individual rights, more than the Constitution. And that's what he's doing.
Our rights, our freedoms, our dreams. But we know the idea of America, our institution, our people, our values that uphold it are constantly being tested. Ongoing debates about power and the exercise of power. But whether we lead by the example of our power or the power of our example. Whether we show the courage to stand up to the abuse of power or we yield.
That's so funny. He says that like he never abused his power as a president. And even yesterday I was watching, and I gotta do a podcast on that. I was watching how Pam Bondi, she's the woman that's Trump picked to be the Attorney General, and they were grilling her, and they constantly was saying she had to be separate from the president. And there's no fourth branch of government. The Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, attorney generals are beholden to the President of the United States of America. All of them. Every one of them. If they bring up a case and the president says, don't prosecute that case, federal government is you're administrated under my executive branch, within my executive branch, and under the orders of the president. Don't prosecute that case. Guess what? Don't prosecute the case. If you don't like that he don't want you to prosecute the case, you quit. That's your job. That's what your options are. Not that you say, oh, I'm an independent body. So I shouldn't even have to say this, but it's bad. It's really bad.
After 50 years at the center of all of this, I know that believing in the idea of America means respecting the institutions that govern a free society. The presidency, the Congress, the courts, a free and independent press. Institutions that are rooted, they just might not reflect the timeless.
What if the independent press becomes part of the government, part of the law enforcement arm? But that's what our media is now. It's not freedom. It's not media anymore. Our podcasters are actually going to where the actual news media is. So it's just as bad as the corrupt news media that's actually working on the law enforcement side to manipulate us, to give us propaganda, to mess with our mind and our perceptions of what reality is. So what if the media does that? What if this freedom of press does that? Becomes something to manipulate us and to hide information from us, like they did with the Ukraine war. Like they want to be favorable to Ukraine, so they don't tell what actually politicians or the president of Russia communicates why they're in Russia, why they're in Ukraine, and why they're doing it. They don't even communicate. They don't report that at all. They report what Ukraine's perception of Russia is. They report what our generals, our military, what our politicians says why Russia went into Ukraine. But they don't report what Russia says the reason why they did it. And if they report it, they don't give it to you straight up. They give it to you with biases attached to it, where they're kind of doing the narrative. They're summarizing it. They're not giving you exactly what was said. So it's manipulation and stuff. So what if our media, like podcasters and social influencers that's talking about everyday topics and politics and stuff like that, we're supposed to be the communication to the people to substitute what the media and the newspaper and the freedom of press decided that they don't want to communicate to you because they're an arm of the government now. So we were supposed to be the ones that bring it back, but we're not even. People don't want to be demonetized, so they don't talk about real stuff, real situations, and what it is. They don't talk about it because they don't want to get demonetized. They don't want to get money taken off of their YouTube account or their Facebook account, or where they spent like the last 12 years not wanting to get canceled from Twitter before Elon Musk took over and it made it X. That was our culture for the last decade or so. So what happens when there's no freedom of speech, and you gotta have the cracks of the system is podcasters like me coming on and talking, because though I'm telling you guys, the freedom that we have now, the podcasters coming on and even talking like this under YouTube or Rumble or anywhere, is because Trump kept it in a gray area. It was going towards that we wouldn't be able to do that. We would get demonetized, we would get flagged on YouTube, and we would get they would cut off our channel. So it was, but at least Trump kept it in the middle. He kept it in a way where they couldn't go all the way right or they couldn't go all the way left. So they had to keep it in the middle until Trump got beat. Once Trump got beat, then they would have put a crackdown on your speech. But they can't. Why? Because Trump won and he kept fighting and he spent a fortune to win. Look, I talk about this in certain ways. I talk about this through all my other podcasts, but I'm telling you, he's talking about eroding freedom and eroding speech and eroding the American people. Like his whole government ain't for that. The way that he used the Department of Justice, the FBI, is ridiculous. They arrested people on January 6th that didn't even go into the building. And they prosecuted them and told them, hey, plead guilty to lying to an FBI agent. Plead guilty to entering the building without illegally entering the building. And if they didn't do it, they just prosecuted them, kept them on an actual a hold, and they had them in there for like 2 years now without a trial. You know what I'm saying? And then if they made them plead guilty to something, or a liberal ass jury in Washington D.C. to find these people guilty, what did they find them guilty for? They lied to a actual a FBI agent when the FBI agent was interviewing them. Crazy stuff, man. And that's eroding constitutional rights. They always talk about Russia and other countries having prisoners locked up in the prison without giving them they duty and they constitutional rights or a trial. And we did it to thousands, hundreds of thousands of citizens from January 6th. We did that. Ridiculous.
Words, but they echo the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Rooted in the timeless words of the Constitution, we the people. Our system of separation of powers, checks and balances, it may not be perfect, but it's maintained our democracy for nearly 250 years.
He don't care about no checks and balance. He don't care about no checks and balance. You get what I'm saying? None of these people do. None of these people do, man. Majority of the Republicans, majority of the Democrats don't care about checks and balance. Meaning that the executive branch manages the executive branch, meaning the president manages the executive branch, and there's no input to it by Congress or the Supreme Court. But now we're passing statutes and laws that stops the executive branch from doing the most common basic executive branch, having certain powers over the executive branch. We're taking powers of the presidency away from the president in laws and statutes that we pass in Congress. And then the Supreme Court, because they don't want to get mixed up in politics, they don't want to be politicized. They don't want the Supreme Court to be you are politicized. You're the Supreme Court, and you're passing a judgment if something that Democrats and Republicans in the political party, who's the political party? Congress. The Senate and the Congress. They're the political party. They're political people. They're politicians that debating things that should be ruled over the people. Like the people, rules and statutes and things that the people should follow. So when the Supreme Court decides if something is against individual citizens' rights, that makes them have to regulate if the Congress says something or wrote something or passed the legislation that may be against individual citizens' constitutional rights. So you have to rule on statutes. You have to rule on legislation. That's what the Supreme Court's supposed to do. And then the Supreme Court's supposed to make sure that the Supreme Court and Congress never steps into the territory of the executive branch, and vice versa, that the executive branch never steps into the rights and the regulations and the management of the Congress or the Supreme Court. That's the checks and balance. So if the president has a problem with Congress and Congress has a problem with the president, then the Supreme Court's supposed to step in and make sure that they all go back to their chairs and do what they're supposed to be doing, and make sure that see who's kind of stepping on who. They're supposed to be the most honest, objective analysis or referee that comes in when the Congress and the presidency has an issue or a conflict. So they're supposed to be politicized. They're supposed to be political. And it's not like political to one party to the other. No, hey, that law, that ruling affects the actual American people in this way. So this is how that should be managed. This is how that statute should be wrote. That statute is wrote against the American people's rights. And you're disenfranchising
any other nation in history.
You're disenfranchised American citizen. And that's what the Supreme Court does. So that we allow for the last 10, 12 to 15 years to be where the government and a political party did some radical stuff because one American citizen, the first American citizen that decided to become an actual politician, and he wasn't a senator, he wasn't a congressman, he wasn't a military general, he wasn't a governor, he wasn't in the political system, that he decided to go run for president was something that Republicans, Democrats, presidents of all ages living decided that they all must team together and fight against. And a lot of Supreme Court justices too was fighting Trump because he was an American citizen for the first time, really actually making a president under the statute and under the constitutional rights of the Constitution, that you could be over the age of 35 years old and you're born and raised in America. That's your only credentials that you need to become president. And for the first time out of all the presidents that's ever became president, it was an actual president that represents the constitutional and the rights of becoming a president. It's the first time. And boy, the powerful senators, congressmen, politicians, law enforcement, Supreme Court, they try to fight this man. And that he bobbed and weaved and he played his way through it. And then the people start to communicate how they felt about it. And then and that all collided in a mesh bowl. That's the reason why we're here to this day. And he's about to be 47th president of the United States and about to get inaugurated in, if nothing don't happen to him. Okay?
That's ever tried such a bold experiment. In the past 4 years, our democracy is held strong. And every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. I've had a great partner in Vice President Kamala Harris. It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience of essential workers getting us through a once-in-a-century pandemic, the heroism of service members and first responders keeping us safe, the determination of advocates standing up for our rights and our freedoms instead of losing their jobs to an economic crisis that we inherited. Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. And together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities. One of the greatest modernizations of infrastructure in our entire history, from new roads, bridges, clean water, affordable high-speed internet for every American.
None of that stuff he achieved. None of it. He just saying a bunch of stuff. Oh, railroad, we got terrible infrastructure. Terrible. For the last 4 years, it's nothing different in infrastructure as a country whole. If like see this, what you guys don't understand, they'll do pet projects, so they'll spend hundreds of billions of dollars on a bridge, and they'll call that infrastructure for the whole country. Okay, they'll do like batteries for cars, a carport for electric cars, and they'll set up 1 or 8 of them in maybe a couple cities or something, and then they'll say that it's electric modernization of electric charge stations over the whole country, when it's only in a few cities and they only got 8 of them, and they spent billions of dollars to just get the 8 little electric shops. And they'll say it for a whole country. So the psychological manipulation is to do one thing in the facts of it and say it's, oh, we're the internet technology that here. What internet structure that you set over the whole country? We are still beholden to AT&T and the internet things of AT&T and Comcast. You get what I'm saying? In certain internet speeds, internet companies, and then it's other companies that come in and they purchase internet speed, and they purchase towers, and they purchase certain leasing of internet speed. So they'll call themselves a such and such company, but really they renting the internet speed and the internet ability from AT&T, from Verizon, from another company. So you're not really getting a different service from AT&T. You're getting a service that AT&T regulates them to not have certain functionalities that AT&T has, because you're renting it from us. So people don't know, even when you get this service and it's a lower cost, it's a certain kind of functionality that you're not getting. It's a certain amount of speed you're not getting. It's a certain regulation to talking on the cell phone and browsing at the same time that you can't do on your cell phone if you're in this lower bracket cell phone coverage that's not AT&T, but it bought service from AT&T. That's see. So when they say like, oh, got internet speed and blah blah blah, what are you talking about? We ain't putting no satellites in the air to kind of give American citizens more internet speed like China did. Towers of internet speed where it gives internet speed to the vast amount of people in the country. Where when you step out your car, you're on a internet speed provided by the USA, the gov, .gov. No, we still using the system, the elite people that's providing internet speed to our AT&T or our providers or whatever. Look, it's all manipulation, y'all.
And it's a semiconductor, smaller than the tip.
What happened to my audio? See? Ridiculous. Can't even play the audio because. Give me 1 second. Let me bring this clip in. They're trying to manipulate me, trying to make it where I gotta fight to do my podcast. But this is gonna be pretty quick. I know what it is. The good part about it is when you find out issues and it rears ugly head again, you know how to combat it because you've been there. You've been there already. You already done this. Know what to do to solve the problem. Okay. One second. I'm pretty much back now. Make sure I get some control over it. And we can bring this on in. Delete this one. Don't need that no more. And then we'll bring this one in at 11:33.
My fellow Americans.
Oop, we don't gotta listen to that. There we go.
Significant gun safety law in 30 years. And bringing violent crime to a 50-year low.
Back it up just a little
Finally,
bit.
giving Medicare the power to new roads, bridges, clean water, affordable high-speed internet for every American. We invented the semiconductor, smaller than the tip of my little finger, and now is bringing those chip factories and those jobs back to America.
He's been talking about these semiconductors like it's so great, and the manipulation of it is those are deals that Trump made, and it got put into play during his administration, and he took credit for it. Just like he did in the beginning of this speech, he took credit for the Israel and Gaza Hamas ceasefire, and Trump actually threatened them and say, "Hey, I'm gonna blow up everything if y'all don't get this. If you don't give the civilians back before I take office on January 20th." So Trump actually sent an envoy, and that means some representatives, to go talk to Hamas and come to agreement with Hamas, and then go talk to Israel, come to agreement with Israel, from Israel, go back to Hamas and say, "Hey, you guys got to do this because I can't stop him. He'll send the Navy SEALs in here. He'll dominate this whole situation where none of y'all got a opinion on what's gonna happen next." So give up this, and then whatever they was working out, going back and forth, it got approved. And then the people and the Hamas and the actual people that's in the negotiation room said the reason why that stuff happened is because of Trump's threats. And his team came in there and worked out something. So for Biden to come on and say, "This is what my administration, it's my administration, this is what I did," he's lying. But you guys, you ain't gonna go through all that. But you need people like us to tell you what's going on here. So you won't even say, "Oh, Biden did that." Truth of the matter is, Trump actually got the whatever bodies that's left of the people that got kidnapped on October 10th last year, and whatever living hostages there is, that's Trump getting them released before January 20th. Okay, so that's what that is, which is ridiculous. All that stuff is ridiculous.
Where they belong, creating thousands of jobs. Finally, giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for millions of seniors.
Even that's a bill that Trump passed. Like, you guys got to go to my stuff on Rumble, because I go through all this. I go through everything. I show you the videos. I show you the clips. I show you the signing of it. This is all a lie. He didn't drop no medical things. All he did was carry on what Trump already got passed, and all the negotiations that Trump already did. And he never did it. So legislation that they even President Obama didn't even know how to write up. Trump got that stuff wrote up, and he got it put into law, and he did the deals with the actual pharmaceutical companies, and he was willing to stop American citizens for paying the overabundant costs of the world. Because the reason, what people don't understand, the reason why Americans pay so much for medicine over the last 20, 30, 40 years is because it was in our policy, in our government policy, that senators, congressmen, black senators, black congressmen were voting for this stuff. And they would say, it's okay for us to charge American citizens this amount. That way we can have cheaper medicine costs for people in Uganda, people in Haiti, people in low income situations or impoverished situations around the world, that we'd be able to kind of just give them medicine or do whatever we got to do. We have to find some way to manufacture it and get the costs. So we have to charge American citizens, no matter if they're in poverty. Our poverty in America is substantially more lucrative than poverty in India, or poverty in Uganda, or poverty in the Congos, or poverty in Haiti. That's what black American Congress people, politicians said, and wrote laws knowing that was the deal, that American citizens, no matter how poor you are, you're going to pay 3 times the amount of money for medicine in order for America to help low-impoverished countries. Trump came in and said, hell nah, I don't care. We got to stop destroying the finances of American citizens on the behalf of the world. So that's what he's not telling you.
And finally, doing something to protect our children and our families by passing the most significant gun safety law in 30 years.
You want to know how you can save your kids from gun violence and some whack job coming up to a school and shooting the kids up? Respect your child like President Obama respect his child. Respect your child like Jay-Z respects his child. Respect your child like how Tom Cruise respects his kid. Respect your kid like Brad Pitt respects his kid. How Denzel Washington respects his kids. Okay, where they send them to schools that got armed guards, that got Secret Service, that got a security team that monitors the kids and protects the kids from any person that will ever come next to the building in a mile radius. Okay, respect. You actually pay attention to your child like they're a bank. All the rules and regulations and cameras and the protocols with the police departments that's all around the area for local banks and stuff like that. All those protocols, set those up for your kids. Treat your kids like your money. Treat your kids like your favorite celebrity treats their kids. Secure it. That's how you protect your kid from gun violence. Every citizen has the right to get any weapon they want in this country. We technically, our Second Amendment right is that we could buy F-16s, we could buy jets, we could buy our own submarines, we could buy our own Navy ships, and if we gotta smack our own government in the nose, we're ready. That's what our Second Amendment actually tells us that we should be doing. Okay? All this other stuff all these other statutes that stop you from having that kind of power in your Second Amendment, is to make you a subservient to the powerful, the elites, the system, the government. If you want to dominate the government and the elites, don't hem yourself, don't stop yourself from arming yourself with the power that they have. So you want to protect your family, your kids, when they in school, while they going to school, do the same thing that politicians do when they send their kids to school. Do the same thing that movie stars do when they send their kids to school. Do the same things that musicians do when they send their kids to school. Do the same thing that powerful elite politicians, business people, everything do when they send their kids to school. Overwhelming security, overwhelming monitoring, overwhelming structures to who gets to come into the zone. This is stupid.
And bringing violent crime to
American citizens have the right, even the whack, crazy Looney Tunes have the right to do whatever they want. There's consequences to it, but they have the right to do anything they want. Our freedoms are not the freedom to stay alive. We don't have the right to stay alive. We got to guarantee that to ourselves. We got to guarantee our own protections. That's what living in America is. President Obama made a lot of people aware of how much free they was, how much freedoms that America gives you as an American citizen. And we're finding out that half of the American public, the American citizens hate their freedoms. And that's what our elections has been for the last 12 to 15 years.
a 50-year low, meeting our sacred obligation to over 1 million veterans so far who are exposed to toxic materials, and to their families, providing medical care and education benefits and more for their families. You know, it will take time to feel the full impact of all we've done together. But the seeds are planted, and they'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come. At home, we've created nearly 17 million new jobs, more than any other single administration.
It's ridiculous. It was the pandemic, y'all. 2020 was the pandemic, okay? Just in case you guys are so dumb that you don't know this yourself. It was the pandemic, okay? Over 70% of every company, every single entity that employed American citizens, over 140 million, 150, 160, 70 million people, I think it's 170 million people that actually have a job that goes to work, okay? 170 million people, over 70% of them had to stay home, and they couldn't they couldn't go to a job, work, because they closed down the factories, they closed down the actual buildings, they closed down everything for the pandemic. If they didn't close it down, they minimized the amount of people that could be part of the workforce. Okay? So they did that from April 20, from March 2020 all the way to about September, November 2020. Okay? A lot of companies still, because it was the holidays, like you're at November and December, you might as well start your employment back in January. So by the time 2021 came and companies start to bring they staff back because of the new measures, new policies of having disinfection and the even like the vaccine, they start giving out the vaccine. That's starting to allow people to come back to work. So from that moment all the way up to 2024 or 2025, pretty much, 70% of the workforce was getting their jobs back or moving to other jobs that allow for them to come and work. That's why you got 17 million people that came back to work. Because by the time by the time all the people start to go back to work in November, like in like October, November, December of 2020, that kind of put a majority of the workforce back. But the ones that needed to decide if they even wanted to bring people back or people need to go find different jobs and stuff, that's where the big workforce come from what Biden seen through his administration. So technically, probably about 60% of 50 to 60% of all the people that came back to work during Biden's presidency was people re-entering back into the workforce from the pandemic. So they call them pop back up jobs. So people going back to get their job. You get what I'm saying? So that's what that situation is. Don't listen to this. It's ridiculous. It's all a lie. So that means he really did nothing with employment. That's what it means. I'm sorry to tell you guys this.
Single term. More people have health care than ever before. And overseas, we've strengthened NATO. Ukraine is still free.
Biden strengthened NATO by threatening them that he'll let Russia destroy them and eat them up if they don't pay their bills. If they don't put in the 2% that they're supposed to put for their GDP, and if they don't put their 2% from their GDP, the country's GDP, into NATO, like they agreed that they're supposed to do, he was going to let Russia do whatever the hell they wanted to do to them. Everybody start pouring money from the countries into NATO for their protection. That's why they got hundreds of billions of dollars in. That's made NATO strong. Trump. He's using your ignorance against you. That's what he's doing. And it's everybody do it. Obama did it, and they do it really good. Liberals do it really good. Really, really good. They use your ignorance against you.
And we pulled ahead of our competition with China and so much more. I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished together for the American people. And I wish the incoming administration success because I want America to succeed.
He wanted to put that man in jail for 134 years, and he tried to find a way, in any way under the sun, to destroy Trump, to stop him from becoming the administration that's coming into play. It's ridiculous. You don't wish nothing. This is all pandering bull crap. And it's almost like insulting you guys, calling you dumb because you guys probably believe some of it. Don't believe none of it. It's all garbage. I just walked down everything that he said so far for 7 minutes. Okay? It is garbage.
That's why I've upheld my duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power.
How did he do that? It's no orderly transition of power. He doesn't know that he knows that you guys don't. See, Biden knows that you guys don't know what he's actually doing during the transition. We're talking about from November, December, what he's actually doing. He actually signed a law to stop oil drilling, and he made it hard for Trump to come in and write an executive order to stop his executive order. So now he got to do a little bit extra stuff in order to stop what he did to stop oil drilling. Why would you stop oil drilling? And that's part of the reason why food and products are so expensive, because the energy is so expensive. Because to put oil, put gas into automobiles, to transportate stuff, to transportate cargoes and stuff like that, to even energy costs on people's electricity is expensive. It's because of energy. And he actually, before like 2 weeks before you get out of or 2 to 3 weeks before you get out of the before you get out of office, you pass a bill to stop more energy from getting provided. Why would you do that? So he's doing certain stuff to hurt Trump while he coming in. He's got his DOJ trying to release documents and stuff like that to make it. I don't even know why that, because Trump won. It doesn't matter what you say about him now. You can't put more propaganda out there, but they try to make the favorability of Trump go down in American eyes, people's eyes. But American people, they are drooling to get the results of Trump.
to ensure we lead by the power of our example. I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern.
Who cares about your concern? You're an idiot.
And that's the dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people.
That's funny.
And dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth.
Oligarchy is taking shape in America. These mythological characters are taking. I'm not gonna say who. I'm just gonna give it very general. It's these oligarchies, these powerful billionaires. Are you talking about Elon Musk? Are you talking about like Vivek Ramaswamy? Who are you talking about? I know you ain't talking about Zuckerberg. I know you ain't talking about Bezos, because they were on your side. We had to put them on their knees with a gun to their head for them to suck our toes. That's the only reason why they even at the table. They are at the table for the mercy. Because they was who's the oligarchy? Who's these powerful billionaires? I mean, who is these people? Because you know the people that tried to help you destroy Trump. Now those billionaires are the problem, and we coming for you.
Wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Consequences all across America.
They trying to destroy the middle class.
We've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts.
More than a century ago.
They didn't punish the wealthy.
We just stood up to
made
you.
The wealthy play by the rules.
You and Obama. Y'all corrupt.
Want rights to earn.
Terrible elitists.
You know, they were dealt into the deal.
That's why you got a ratchet, ridiculous. It's crazy. How is Michelle Obama a ratchet person? And her whole life is like the elite. You know what I'm saying? Her parents sent her to the most elite schools, elite education. She went into elite colleges. She got elite certifications. She's been around elite people. She would never be able to touch and be around a person like President Obama unless she was in the right circles. And she turns her nose up like, oh, Donald Trump is uncivilized. He doesn't have enough coof. He doesn't have enough upstanding elite. He shouldn't even be with us in a we should not be eating caviar with this knucklehead. Trump, he is extremely more successful. Do you understand that Trump is more successful? I'm talking about. Go do your research. Go look at every company that every congressman that ever was a congressman, every senator that was a senator, every president that was a president. He has more success than, I'm talking about, from George Washington all the way up to Joe Biden. Donald Trump is more successful with all them combined with his businesses than they ever was. All the money, all the companies that they all have combined in the revenue that they gained, and he's more successful than all of them combined. Every president, every senator, every congressman. Combined, that's how successful he is. So when you got one of their wives acting like she's more astute and more professional and more presentable and more approval to the elite in the presidential title. Nope. Love America and you could be president. Just be crazy enough to want to be president.
And help put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can but play by the same rules, pay their fair share of taxes. So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world, and the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries.
I need to do a separate episode about the climate change thing, because we got to go do too much detail on that. I'm going to do it. Because it's ridiculous. It really is, y'all. Y'all so stupid that y'all think y'all could beat Earth. You think you could beat Earth? We haven't even seen half. We haven't seen a quarter of 10% of the power of Earth when it fights against us. Do you understand that 90% of the Earth existence was violent? The ozone was uninhabitable. It was terrible. Okay.
Of the future. Now, we've proven we don't have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis.
He's talking about you. You voted against him. You voted against his vice president. Even just voted against them even in 2016. He's talking about you, the citizens, the overwhelming citizens that for 8 years you show support to Trump. For 8 years, over 70 million people show loyalty to Trump and value to his mindset and what he wanted to do. That's what we know for sure. What are they talking about?
To serve their own interest for power and profit. We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous.
Eisenhower was talking about people like President Obama, FDR, Biden, Bush, both Bush, really. He was talking about these people are the worst. They didn't know that Reagan was worse than them. If they always talk about the top 3 worst presidents, I'm sure, I got to go look through the old guys and stuff, the first 30 the first 20 presidents. But I'll say for my top 3 is definitely Carter, Reagan, and Bush. I'll say Bush. Those were the worst. Biden's pretty bad too. He's economically terrible. But those were the worst. People don't know that our border in the division of the respect of the being an American citizen is pretty destroyed by what Reagan did with the immigration policies, because he made it more blurred. Before, by being an American citizen, you were powerful, and it wasn't about us putting a situation where we were trying to give validity of human rights to all human beings on earth. It was that, no, the humans that are American citizens are the greatest thing in the world. If you were born in America and you were an American citizen, you were the greatest thing that ever walked the planet. And then we said, oh, it's everybody's the greatest that walk the planet. And if you could come into our country and find a way to get into our country, become a citizen, then we just make it more diverse. It's more of a melting pot. Nah. So look, I'm talking about too much that I need to go further into, but I do, and I may not did the right top 3 horrible presidents in my lifetime, but I will say that Reagan is one of the worst.
Rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power.
I love that the truth that we're communicating is the misinformation and the false propaganda, espionage, manipulating, psychological warfare that Biden and his goons are actually delivering is the truth. And it's not the misinformation. And they're actually saying, oh, we're telling you the truth, and that other stuff that you guys are coming up with, that's misinformation. That's the psychological warfare, because you don't know. You don't know unless you do your research. You don't know. But when you do your research, this should stop you from supporting anybody that ever supported Biden. Anybody, family, friends, politicians, anybody that supported President Biden, because after Obama, we kind of knew something wrong. It's unforgivable what President Obama did, but now you have to be a little bit more respectful to the people's rights and their understanding. But they didn't. They went down the rabbit hole. They put more money, more espionage tactics against you. Against you.
The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking.
Like
the truth
they
is smothered by lies.
Like
told
they're
for power and
fact-checking.
for profit.
Wow.
We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children.
Hold the social. How are you gonna hold the social media accountable? It's freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. How are you gonna hold us accountable?
Artificial intelligence
What's the
is the
big
most consequential technology of our
government
time,
thing
perhaps of all
to
time.
make us hold us accountable?
Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it.
We ain't got no choice.
But unless safeguards are in place,
You guys let Silicon Valley and with Steve Jobs gone, because that was the only thing. He was the only person that actually equated evolution with humanity, with human dominance. His thing was to make sure that humans are always dominant. And the last check and balance of tech and humanity or human being been the dominant over tech or evolution was Steve Jobs. But now that he's gone, and Tim Cook, because he's a LGBTQ member, and he doing everything to make sure the elevation of LGBTQIA plus is advocated. He's kind of destroying individuality, and it's integrated into Apple now. So now anybody that want to take advantage of that, they can, at the approval of Apple. So it's bad, dude. So I don't know what he's talking about.
AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy.
We ain't got no choice. We got to use AI, y'all. It's bad.
We must make sure
I think
AI
it's terrible.
is safe and trustworthy.
I think AI is terrible.
And good for all humans.
But we got to use it.
In the
School
age of
yourself
AI,
on it, because
it's more important than ever.
You will get destroyed
that
not
the people must
implementing it.
govern.
You will get destroyed
And
if you
as
let
the land of liberty,
you let people use AI and you're not using it. You'll get destroyed.
America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. You know, in the years ahead,
It's too late.
it'll help to be.
I think we're about
It's going to be up to the president,
5 years behind the AI.
presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them.
Government was never supposed to get taxes, y'all. That is FDR, Roosevelt, President Frederick Roosevelt. He destroyed the country. It was only time you were supposed to get taxed is in time of war. Okay, that's the only time you're supposed to get taxed. Okay, that FDR wanted to find a way to repay farmers for taking away their slaves. That's where the farm bill and unemployment and low poverty income, or like a help of government assistance and stuff, that's where that comes from. It was never meant for black people. It was meant to show forgiveness or give or apologize to white farmers for taking away slaves. That's what it was. That's what it was for, y'all. You get what I'm saying? And when it got past that, it was to make sure that government becomes supreme, becomes the value. It was like a campaign to make people like government more. That's what it was.
Begin to pay their fair share.
Socialists.
We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year
So funny, because that's all they use is dark money.
Term limit, time and term, for the strongest ethnic.
Mark Zuckerberg giving up $400 million for those ballot boxes.
We need to
Ridiculous.
ban members of Congress
What are you talking about?
from trading stock while they're in the Congress. We need to amend.
And that's his anger against Nancy Pelosi. That's what they say, because that's what she was doing. You don't care about that, man. You're saying that while you about to go on your deathbed. You're an idiot.
The Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
Then we should put you in jail by Biden.
The president's power is not limited.
It's ridiculous.
It's not absolute, and it shouldn't be.
Hey, if we're not going to put President Obama in jail for killing an American citizen in a coffee shop because he was part of Al Qaeda, or rumbling around or rolling in the mud with Al Qaeda, at that time when he killed him, he wasn't. He was in a coffee shop with his kid and a whole bunch of innocent people, and Obama proved a drone hit. Okay? And we ain't going to put Obama in jail for that? Why? Because he was doing the work of the country? It was for the greater good. It's ridiculous.
And in a democracy, there's another danger to the concentration of power and wealth. It erodes a sense of unity and common purpose. It causes distrust.
Garbage.
Participating in our democracy becomes exhausting and even disillusioning. And people don't feel like they have a fair shot. We have to stay engaged in the process. I know it's frustrating.
You have to stay engaged in the part. Who you talking to? Who you talking to? We got so engaged, it was aggressive. It's aggressive. No thanks to the 92% black Americans that voted for the same ridiculous, overwhelming. Nobody lost more in the last 4 years than black Americans. We really got hit. They gave our country away. We got our companies taken, and every growth that we had over the last 10 to 15 years, we lost it in the last 4 years. And we still went out 92% to vote for Kamala, Biden, and Obama. I'll get back on that on an individual episode, because black people are pretty goddamn dumb. Okay? But I don't know who he talking about. People came out of their huts. They came out of the caves. They came out of the upper woods. They came out of the backwoods. And they voted against this crazy stuff. So no, the people are speaking. 160 million people? You crazy? We're voting in large numbers.
A fair shot is what makes America America.
Very active.
Everyone's entitled to a fair shot. Not a guarantee, but just a fair shot an even playing field, going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth, remain who we are. I've always believed.
You say this like he really believes
I've told other world leaders America can be
so
defined
funny.
by one word.
Where's the psychologist analyzing this
Only
idiot?
in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America. It's all around us. Upstairs in the residence of the White House, I've walked by a painting of the Statue of Liberty I don't know how many times. In the painting, there are several workers climbing on the outstretched arm of the statue that holds the torch. It reminds me every day I pass it of the story and soul of our nation and the power of the American people. There's a story of a veteran. This is a veteran, the son of an immigrant, whose job was to climb that torch and polish the amber panes so rays of light could reach out as far as possible. He was known as the keeper of the flame. He once said of the Statue of Liberty, quote, speaks a silent universal language, one of hope that anyone who seeks and speaks freedom can understand. Yes, we sway back and forth to withstand the fury of the storm, to stand the test of time. A constant struggle, a short distance between peril and possibility. But what I believe is the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. And it's up to us to make our dreams come true. Let me close by stating my gratitude to so many people, to the members of my administration, as well as public service and first responders across the country and around the world. Thank you for stepping up to serve. To our service members and your families, it's been the highest honor of my life to lead you as Commander-in-Chief. And of course to Kamala and our incredible partner, the historic Vice President. She and Doug have become like family, and to me, family's everything. My deepest appreciation to our amazing First Lady who's with me in the Oval today, for our entire family. You're the love of my life and the lives of my love. My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service, I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions and the character of our people matter and must endure. Now it's your turn to stand guard. May you all be the keeper of the flame. May you keep the faith. I love America. You love it too. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Thank you for this great honor.
Like, I love how you say, like, it's for you to stand guard. We always been on guard. We gotta fight our own American citizens. We gotta fight each other when we elect people like you. Like I tell you, truthfully, I don't forgive my family, friends, or anybody if I find out that you voted for Biden. Because what you did was, when black people were becoming economically, I don't gotta speak to black people right now. I understand white people might be watching this. There's nothing against you guys. I have to fight. I have to talk about what happened in the last 4 years. It took a lot over the last 10 years, from the 2008 to now. It took a lot for black people to put themselves in an economic situation, to understand money, to put themselves in a situation where they start to like react with money and or goals, and start to put themselves in a situation where they're accomplishing assets, accomplishing equity value. And we did that. But it literally took, like, I'll say, like, the end of Obama's administration for us to really get it and start to put it into motion. Okay, and then we start to actually physically have that's kind of success, and we were actually building our companies and everything. And then Biden came in and through a major economic hurricane with the ups and downs of the treasury, so the interest rates, and then the actual bank starts to attack the people and the up and coming entrepreneurs. Then they start to put IRSs in to start to mess up the interaction of commerce. When they start shutting people down, like certain podcasters or social influencers, like the Tate brothers, when they start attacking them and taking their bank accounts from them and all that stuff, and they start doing that to other Me Too people or people or influencers, that they actually start taking their banks away from them. When Apple and Google started to take people apps and they start taking away their economic voice away from them, and Twitter and Facebook, when they did that for 10 years now. When they started to do that, it made even banks in companies that was in the e-commerce area start to mess with approvals of the up and coming person that needed the extra financial space to build their wealth, build their economic situation, but they start getting regulated heavily. And it slowed down a lot of barter trade, a lot of financial, a lot of economic exchange. And we've been dormant. We've been really subdued and losing ground in that for the last 4 going on 5 years, because it's going to take this year to even just start it back up. That was unforgivable. So if you were a black person that was doing good, like 6-7 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Or even like 8-10 years ago, you were starting to make that money and get your company good, and it started to fall apart in the Biden administration because of the different things that they were doing with money and e-commerce and energy and all the other stuff. You lost so much. And if you are there that you actually retained enough to move forward, you're part of the very, very, very few. Very few. You're part of the very few. Most companies went dead, went belly up. Most people that just bought their house, just bought they start to actually make a good income with stock and all that stuff, and they had to take it. They had to use that money to survive. They don't exist anymore, and they're belly up. So the people that did hold on to enough to move forward, you still got to wait a year. Keep going, keep doing what you're doing, but it's going to take you about a year. I'll say 2026, where you're going to start to see your money work for you again. Your actual accomplishments work for you again. But boy, they did a mess of it. So I don't forgive anybody that voted for Biden in 2020. And I'm just not in a position right now to show my anger. I will be very, very soon. Okay. But that's a whole nother situation. Look, we covered this. I talked to you about it enough. I went through how I felt about anything. He's an idiot. He needs to go back on the beach and enjoy the rest of his life. And like, it's just enough. You know, I'm going to do an episode on Michelle Obama. She got a lot of goddamn nerve too. Okay. So, but look, I know I got a lot of anger. I know I do. A lot of it. But I manage it well. Okay, this is Biden's farewell philosophical warfare speech. And I just wanted to cover it. And thanks for joining me, guys. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. My name is Daris D. McKinney. And we will be on. I got a couple more episodes I got to do with you guys, but I got to go do a couple little runs and everything, and probably do some economic calls and stuff like that to make life a little bit better. But look, thanks for joining me. My name is Daris D. McKinney. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. My name is Daris D. McKinney, and I'll see you on the next one.